This artisan uses a centuries-old technique to restore antique figurines and to make new ones. She begins with pure beeswax, paraffin wax, some powdered chalk to make the waxes less transparent, and a bit of solid animal fat to make the wax less fragile once it hardens. She heats the can of ingredients in a pot of water for about 2 hours until everything's melted and homogeneous. Then she tints the mixture using oil paint pigments. There's no exact recipe. She goes by gut feeling, fiddling with various colors until she creates the exact skin tone she's looking for. Once she's certain the color is uniform throughout, she pours the mixture through a stocking. This filters out any contaminants or undissolved particles. Now she pours the mixture into a plaster mold. There's a different mold for each figurine model. This one's a baby Jesus. The wax takes about 10 minutes to solidify. The figurine comes out easily because she's greased the mold cavity beforehand with filtered sheep fat. The figurine at this point is firm enough to extract from the mold, but still soft enough to sculpt. With a very fine blade that she heats over a flame, the artisan now scrapes away the seam left by excess wax that oozed out of the gap between the mold's two halves. Then she runs the figurine through the flame, just long enough to melt off any wax particles left behind by the scraping. After smoothing the surface with a solvent, she signs the back of the figurine with her initials. Then uses the flame once again to melt off the scraped out wax. Now that the figurine's body is finished, she can begin the detail work. She melts pine resin with beeswax to make glue, then brushes it onto the figurine's head. Then she takes strands of human hair. Clients often supply their children's, and soaks them in water. She wets strips of fabric as well. Then she rolls the hair around a knitting needle to make curly locks. She winds the fabric over the curls to hold them in place until they air dry. If she's pressed for time, she'll dry them in the oven on low heat. To make bigger curls for a larger figurine, she simply uses a thicker knitting needle. Now, using a hot blade to reheat and activate the glue, she applies each length of curls individually. Once she's finished covering the head, she attaches a little halo made of brass wire, heating the end so that the wax melts on contact and holds it in position. Now, using a small pointed tool that she repeatedly heats on the flame, she sculpts the fine facial details: the figurine's eyes, eyelids, nostrils, and lips. Again, a little solvent cleans off the wax particles. Now she brushes the figurine head to toe with powder made of pumice and pigment. This will help the watercolor paints adhere to the wax. She paints the eyes, lashes, brows, and lips. Once the paint dries, she applies a touch of varnish to the eyes to make them shiny and bright. Once the varnish dries, she dresses the figurine and positions it in its setting.